So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel, man. Salute. So listen, the next video we get into, man, is the high school student who died in a freak accident. Now, I know, and it didn't really register with me until the video started. That today is like, for us, I don't know about anybody else, but for us, today was the first day back to school for the kids. Both of my sons went back to school today, so I'm like, it didn't register me until like I hit, and I was like, yo, really? So that's my bad, bro, but we here now. You know what I mean? We here now. So we're gonna check this video out, man. I hope everybody had, for those of y'all who did start back school today like we did, hope everything was a success. The kids enjoyed themselves. They home. They not too smelly. You know what I mean? That was the first thing we checked when they came in the house, bro. Like, yo, you had gym? Which period? Last period? All right. You had deodorant? So, you know what I mean? Let's get into this video. If you're new to the channel, man, hit the subscribe button, join the fam, and make sure you let everybody in the comment section know and show them by running the likes up, baby. Let's get to it. Here we go.
17-year-old Kendrick Johnson went missing on January 10th of 2013. He was found the next morning, his head facing down inside a gym mat at Valdosta, Georgia High School.
It's the only video shot inside the Lowndes High School gym. The day 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found dead.
8 years ago, Johnson's...
Oh, I think I remember this story, bro. I think I do. This was crazy, man. And did they, I don't know if was it a teacher or something? They found him rolled up in a mat. I can't remember. Let me just watch it. I think I remember this story, though.
Body was found rolled up in a gym mat at Lowndes County High School. His family has always suspected foul play, but his death was ruled an accident.
Local and state investigators, Kendrick Johnson's death an accident. His parents, though, have always insisted that he was murdered.
In January 2013, a boy named Kendrick Johnson was found rolled up in a mat at the Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia. Students interviewed in the case indicated that the body had been found headfirst in the center of a vertically rolled up mat. The preliminary investigation, though, would later determine that Johnson's death was accidental and had emanated from positional asphyxia. As laid out by the police, the primary hypothesis was that Johnson had fallen into the mat while looking for a shoe and had died as he struggled to retrieve it. This theory was further supported, according to Bynum, by the fact that he had not been wearing shoes when he was found, and a fellow student was indicating that after gym classes, Johnson would often go to the mats, jump, and toss shoes inside the middle of the hole. And apparently this was due to the fact that many students at Lowndes High School, including Kendrick, did not want to pay for lockers at school, so instead they decided to store their gym shoes and other belongings for their classes inside the gym's rolled up mats. Hence, for the investigators, there had been no other form of information of leads at the time showing that the event had been more than a mere accident.
That's the first time I've seen it like this. I like how the fact that he's going a little bit more in depth. Look at this. Look at that, bro. I can definitely see why they see it that way. I'm trying to back up so it can lighten up. The picture can lighten up. Hold on. There you go. It's a little more light right there. If you get yourself in that and it's standing up and that mat is that strong to where it won't lean over if you try to wiggle it, how are you? It's no way for you to get out. No way for you to get out. Like, that had to have been, man, nobody should have to go out like that.
The event had been more than a mere accident. The family of Kendrick would question this theory, though, leading to more investigations and coverage of the case. And a secondary review of the case and a subsequent autopsy would later determine that he had died from unexplained and apparent blunt-force trauma. As per the independent autopsy conducted by William R. Anderson, there was consequent evidence showing that there had been damage to the right neck and soft tissue, which indicated that Johnson's death had not been accidental. With the release of the second set of findings, the family would assert that Johnson had been murdered and requested a formal review into his death. The independent autopsy would also indicate that some of Kendrick Johnson's internal organs were missing, as the funeral home in which he had been taken to had filled the spaces with newspapers. Kurzweil indicates that, in their defense, the funeral home had indicated that they had been discarded due to destruction by natural body processes, and that the use of newspapers was standard practice in filling such spaces. However, the Georgia Secretary of State would indicate that these actions were not in line with the best practice, as more acceptable material would have been used. The funeral home was later...
Wow, I'm not familiar with embalming or anything like that, but newspaper? You just line them with newspaper? It said, but the board also said in a letter to the Johnson family that the Harrington Funeral Home's decision to replace the autopsy organs with newspaper is not considered best practice for embalming. The board, in a report released Thursday, said filling a body cavity is a necessary preparation to present a deceased body for public viewing, adding, however, that there are other materials more acceptable than newspaper for that purpose. So if y'all are familiar with the whole funeral service process, then what is that standard? Do a lot of people do that? And because I'm pretty sure the families don't know nothing about that. And if we were asked, I'm like, no, we ain't got nothing better than that to do. Like, it just seems, and I get it, you know what I mean? For those of you who be like, well, the person's dead, so this, that, and the third, but still, man, like, I'm probably not in the right headspace, so I'm thinking that just seems a little bit disrespectful probably at that time. You know?
The best practice, as more acceptable material would have been used. The funeral home was later cleared of any wrongdoing. However, the family insists that removing some parts of the body, including Kendrick's brain, and discarding his clothes, was part of a coordinated effort to interfere with the investigation. A local Georgia sheriff involved in this case asserted that their investigation went above and beyond. However, the family had still not been convinced, leading them to petitioning the U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia, Michael J. Moore, in October of 2013 to conduct a formal review, and while awaiting a decision by the judge for their case to rule on legal action and open a coroner's inquest, the family demanded that the Georgia governor authorize one. However, the governor's office indicated that they would await a formal report from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Reports by the Justice Department in 2016 indicated that after a 2.5-year probe, the investigators had failed to amass enough evidence showing beyond a reasonable doubt that there had been people or an individual who had murdered Johnson or had partook in his death. However, a new investigation is currently ongoing where retired Sheriff Ashley Polk has sought to head a committee that will review the evidence and raise questions that can determine the authenticity of the family's assertions of murder or point to people who may have more involvement in the case. Now, one of the significant tussles in this case has been the nature of evidence and its quality. Surveillance cameras have, for instance, been very contentious as they have failed to provide a clear timeline of the cause of events. A report by Victor Blackwell in 2013 indicated that Kendrick's family was suspicious of the video and termed them as likely to have been manipulated. The attorney representing the family at the time, Benjamin Crump, asked, "They know their child did not climb into a wrestling mat, get stuck, and die. Where is that video?" The footage presented to Johnson's family shows Kendrick only for a few seconds. There were episodes of other students intermittently appearing and vanishing, with there being no prominent timestamps. And without the time code, it would be challenging to scrutinize and synchronize events shown in the footage, which ultimately led the Johnson family to believing that the footage had been tampered with by humans. The school, however, was adamant that the footage was raw and had no edits. An article made by Victor Blackwell, a reporter for CNN, reported back in 2013 that they had hired a forensic expert, Grant Fredericks, to analyze more than 290 hours of film from all cameras inside and outside the gym. And while his findings indicated that the Johnson's family's concerns can be attributed to motion sensors triggering the camera's recording function and the blurriness on the camera homing in on the gym mats being a product of an out-of-focus lens, there had been approximately an hour of footage missing from all of the cameras inside the gym. It indicated that they had not received the original files and could not determine what had happened accurately. There was a tremendous information gap arising from poor image quality, dropped information, and information loss due to improper processing or poor playability of the data. And local authorities assert, as per Blackwell in 2014, that they had not received copies of the videos until a few days later. So with all that in mind, the circumstances around the missing hour of footage.
Now, some people are gonna say, now is everybody involved? Is the person who killed him plus the person who, if the person who killed him works there, do they have the entire school staff and administrative office involved to where they would help that person doctor the footage? You know what I mean? You have the skeptics on one side. Now then you have the parents. First of all, my child's organs have been discarded, like, you know what I mean? And we felt that all that stuff was pertinent to the investigation, the autopsy, and everything like that. All right. Now it seems like the footage, there's hour worth of footage or whatever the time limit worth of footage missing. You know what I mean? So as a parent, mind you, grieving, as a parent, I'm saying, if it ain't one thing, it's another. And y'all want me to believe that my child jumped in and died due to asphyxiation, or however you say that. He died, but all this other stuff is going on. Something just don't feel right. So you can see both sides right now. And that's why you got somebody who's now heading up the investigation, i.e. Wise, presented back in the forefront.
Made the situation incredibly suspicious. And according to Grant Fredericks, the forensic expert hired by CNN, he says that the police allowed the school to provide information and tapes based on what the school deemed relevant, which was, in his opinion, a significant mistake.
Do you believe it's a coincidence that that time period in the gym is missing?
Oh boy. Investigators are always suspicious and should be suspicious. And it's suspicious that that time period is not there. So yes, I would be suspicious. And until I have the digital video system in my hand, until I can say, or an investigator can say, everything is intact, this was what's recorded, I would still be highly suspicious of this.
The body.
Another contentious issue arises from the handling of the body. According to Georgia law, the police should have informed the coroner immediately that the body was found. However, in this case, Bill Watson, the Lowndes County coroner, asserts that he was notified more than 6 hours later, according to reporting by the WLAB news team in 2019. The body had been moved by the time he arrived, and in addition to removing some of Kendrick's body parts, these reports gave Kendrick's family even more ammo to fuel their theory of local authorities trying to cover up the murder of their son.
Look at the look on that mom's face. Like, even in the picture right there, she like, I don't trust nobody right now. She got that I don't trust you, I don't trust. She looked like she don't trust nobody. And what did you expect? A mother's love was just taken. You know what I'm saying?
To fuel their theory of local authorities trying to cover up the murder of their son.
Someone murdered him. They should be in jail. They are covering up. They should be in jail.
In any case, the news publication All That's Interesting reported in 2021 that when the mat was unrolled, Johnson had one arm stretched above his head while the other hand was around his waist, suggesting that he was struggling for his shoe. The mat, when rolled up, was 14 inches in diameter, and Kendrick's shoulders were 19 inches across. So with those things in mind, it was likely that to fit in the space to retrieve his shoes, he would have had to scrunch his shoulders inward and make himself smaller in order to be able to have a chance at reaching his shoes. Kendrick's parents, however, indicate that the variations in size debunk the investigators' theory, as he was unlikely to fit. Moreover, there was a concentration of blood in the upper regions of his body, including the head, since he had been stuck upside down when he died. But this is one of the most baffling mysteries of this case. The black and white gym shoe that was below Kendrick's body, the one he was presumably reaching for, was lying on top of a pool of blood, but there was no blood in or on the shoe itself. And interestingly enough, there was a hoodie and a pair of orange and black gym shoes that were also found lying on the floor of the gym, as well as traces of blood on the wall nearby. And investigators on the Kendrick Johnson case tested the blood, which revealed that it did not belong to Kendrick Johnson. They also reported that the blood had likely been there for a long time, so investigators did not see it as necessary to take the hoodie and orange and black gym shoes into evidence.
If you were on this scene, would this have been something you would have left?
No, bag and tag. And if you look real close, there's something on this particular cuff. And then the question is, was it blood? Did you test it?
They know something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
For the Johnsons, there's no stronger indicator than this photo. It's of what appears to be blood.
Where y'all at with it? What are y'all thinking? Are y'all still on this side? Skeptic? Say he, you know what I mean? It was an accident. He was climbing in there after his shoe. Or are you on this side to where all this stuff just ain't adding up? And the further along we go, the more evidence comes out that was either left behind, omitted, or tampered with, i.e. the organs that was removed. Like,
Dripping down a wall. Here's what Lowndes County Lieutenant Stripe Jones told CNN about that wall in May.
And we tested it, and it was blood. Now, we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, who blood was it?
good question.
Now, the parents and family of Kendrick have been involved in several different legal cases in which they have tried to seek justice for Kendrick. And it has been the position of the family that Kendrick was murdered and have acted to promote information and legal action against those who would oppose this narrative. A timeline compiled by the WALB news team in 2019 determined that in April of 2013, Kendrick's family demanded answers from authorities and took to the streets of Valdosta and rallied in front of the Lowndes County Courthouse. And on May 2nd, 2013, after the investigators ruled Kendrick's death as an accident, the family and community marched outside the high school seeking justice for him. Due to prevailing inconsistencies in the manner in which Johnson had been reported found by paramedics in the mats, the family would later petition a second autopsy, and the Lowndes County judge granted their motion on June 6, 2013. This second autopsy would cast doubt on the initial findings of the first autopsy report, leading to the family further believing that there had been a massive cover-up in this case. The pathologist they used advocated for a homicide investigation to commence on September 9th, 2013, and through an anonymous donor, the family and friends would put out a reward for anyone with information that would help arrest or lead to the conviction of the people who they believe had participated in the death of Kendrick Johnson. Also, 10 months after the death, the judge would rule that the school should release the entire video footage of the gym on that day. And on November 7th, the family would finally have access to this video footage and asserted that it raised more questions than answers, as there was no footage showing how Johnson got into the mats. And after that, more than a year later, the initial cash reward of $10,000 would be rescinded as it had only been valid for 90 days. And unfortunately, during that allotted time, no one stepped forward to provide any beneficial information to this case. Fox News in 2015, though, reported that the family sued the funeral home for negligence after the second autopsy determined that Johnson had several missing organs that had been stuffed with newspapers. They further asserted that the funeral home did not tell them of this fact until the second autopsy indicated missing organs. In 2014, though, news of an email confession surfaced, and the police started their investigation surrounding this tip. The Lowndes County Assistant Attorney ordered a communications service company to hand in the internet records pertaining to the confession. But in March, the email was deemed to be a hoax. The family would, in July 2014, sue the Lowndes Board of Education by bringing upon it a wrongful death suit. They claimed the school had not conducted the investigation appropriately and, more so, indicated that past altercations of Kendrick and another student believed to have been party to the death of their son weren't investigated thoroughly. However, the school's attorney would rule this as untrue, and more so asserted that against what the parents had claimed in court documents, that there was no racial motivation in the handling of this investigation. Now, within spaces where information gaps exist, it is not uncommon for people to develop theories about the motives and causes behind a specific issue. Several theories have emerged from the case that could highlight the possible events leading up to Johnson's death, as highlighted by a Reddit post under the username The Chairman Meow. One of the leading hypotheses was that two brothers, Brandon and Brian Bell, were responsible for his death. The theory proponents argue that they had escalated a fight between Brian and Kendrick from the previous year while being bussed for a football game. And all those students interviewed at the time said that the two had reconciled. The Johnson family believes that this was not the case and that hostility had evolved, leading to a violent altercation between the two where Brian beat Kendrick up. An image circulated by the family sought to affirm this theory though, as Kendrick's face was barely recognizable when they found his body. Moreover, they felt like the actions of the police, such as moving the body, were in a bid to cover up and protect Brian, whose father works for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, aka the FBI.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's not up. Oh my, yo. I mean, at this point, do you blame the mom for being a skeptic? Do this then. Put yourself in her shoes. If you're a male, put yourself in the dad's shoes. In his shoes. What would you think? It's hard to contest what how they feel.
Yeah, but there has been evidence to refute this claim, mainly because the student in question, Brian, had been in a bus at the time of Johnson's death, heading to a wrestling tournament. And Johnson had no defensive wounds, which would have been there had he had to fight off his attackers. And aside from the Johnson family believing the conspiracy theory that the government or the local authorities were trying to cover up the murder of their son, in reality, it would have been very tough for coaches, students, and any other individuals to all create a cohesive alibi supporting Brian and all sticking to their story without cracking. And you know, there have been accusations of the Johnson family fueling online attacks on people they believe to have been involved in their son's murder, even if there was no evidence of the people they were supposedly attacking being involved in Kendrick's death. Moreover, the independent coroner who was examining Kendrick's body had been accused of unprofessional conduct, leading to fears that his initial findings were not objective. Ultimately though, this loss of young life can be devastating for any family. It creates pain for the family and affects the community, especially when the circumstances and facts aren't as clear as the loved ones might have wanted it to be. And you know, getting to the truth can be challenging, especially when a family is in grief and wants to find a person they can blame for the pain and hurt they have experienced. Although the evidence points to Kendrick's death being accidental, there are still assertions of possible manipulation. Hope remains that the new investigation that was just launched in 2021 can fill the information gaps and finally lead to the truth that can help the family and community achieve peace and justice for Kendrick Johnson.
Yo, I totally forgot about that case, bro. But I see why it's thrusted back in the forefront, man. As a parent, what would you do? I need closure. And I won't rest until I have closure for my child that's no longer here. So I get it, bro. I get it. And I get the point about, you know, how could all those students, teachers, faculty, staff all come together and have a cohesive, you know what I mean, without one of them cracking. That's extremely difficult to do. So this is one of those cases, man, where it's just like, what? How? Like, you pull your hair out. You really pull your hair out on this one, man. So condolences to the family, much respect, sending a lot of love to them, and I just hope that they get the closure eventually that they deserve. All right. So, man, didn't try to have it on it was an accident, man. I really wasn't trying to have it on a somber note today, but we ended up here, and it's always, this was a crazy story. All right, so y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and stick around and stay tuned, man. I'm gone. Peace.